Wow. Freaky. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's light this up. Wow. Freaky. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's light this up. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, it's Freeqo Talks the News, Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. Older than dinosaurs, these wormies are our oldest living kin. The ozone is expected to make a full recovery, and that's a surprise. Puppies in need are no more in need, even in the midst of Coronaville. In Coronaville, the ghost gun is king. And now, ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourself. Brace yourself. Prepare yourself for the warning.
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is foreign to the minds of individuals with limited capacity to understand the actual reality and power around them, just as you and everyone else is live from beyond. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of reality and power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone on our we do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Freeqo attempts to talk about the news without freaking out. That's right, folks. That's where we're at in our lives now. That's where we're at. Fundamentally, Freeqo.com, not freaking out about the news for you, the people. That's what we're all about here, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we do what we do. Let's get to our talk headlines here. Older than dinosaurs, these wormies are our oldest living kin. Little wormies here. Let's get these little wormies up here. We've got to zero in a little bit there. You can see the little wormy there. Can you see that little wormy right there? I'll leave you decide what that looks like, because I'm a decent human being. We're going to move on. From Scientific American, tiny worm-like creature may be our oldest known ancestor. Excerpt. Acaria may be the oldest bilaterian animal that we find in the fossil record. So this is twice as old or more than things like, well, I read that wrong. So this is twice as old or more than things like dinosaurs. University of California, Riverside paleontologist Scott Evans says animals like sponges are even more ancient, but they lack the bilateral symmetry that characterizes most animals today. And then he goes on to describe it here, and I'm going to go read his quote. And prepare yourself, because this is awesome. So a front and a back and a symmetrical left and right side. And bilaterians also have an opening for food to go in, an opening for waste to go out, food in, poop out, food in, poop out. And, you know, poop. Poop is magical, dude. Without poop, man, without being able to manage poop and without being able to utilize poop, humans, we wouldn't be around here today for the Coronaville. So thanks all that be for poop, because poop made Coronaville possible. Just kidding, but poop made us possible. Anyway, you know, a little homage, press F in chat for poop. So a front and a back and a symmetrical left and right side. See that? That's just a wonderful little phrase there, isn't it? It's wonderful. And bilaterians also have an opening for food to go in, an opening for waste to go out, and a gut connecting them. Basically, a tube. We're all tubes, man. When it comes down to it, we're all tubes with left and rights. All left and right tubulars is what we is. And really most animals, everything from insects to mammals to us, those are all bilaterians that are around today. So thank you, little wormy, worm-like thing. Worm-like. There you go, worm-like. I gotta wait to attach that story. I apologize. The Ozone is expected to make a full recovery, and that is surprising. See, that's I didn't really put in too much for this, and I even left out a sentence. That's cool. From tooth theory, ozone layer could fully recover, new study claims. And the excerpt. Now, more than 3 decades later, scientific observations are suggesting that efforts to slow down ozone destruction are paying off. See, it's working. The ozone layer is returning to normal thanks to all of the controls that we have. You know, it's kind of the undercurrent of that. I mean, not that I'm Freeqo. I keep things smooth, baby. You see this right here? See this right here? In the middle of Coronaville, this is smooth. Either that or hubris. I'm not sure which. We'll find out. Puppies in need are no more indeed, even in the midst of Coronaville. See, this is. I went way too high. Come on, don't be doing that to me. Show those cute little face. Come on, stop jumping down. Give me these puppy fishers. Okay? I want the puppies. Give me the puppy picture. Oh, you're not showing the puppy picture? You're terrible. This is not good the way this is doing this. Okay, so for some there you go. This is the best that we can offer here for some reason. Puppies, there they are. Look at those adorable little puppy faces. Those are some cute little puppy faces. Yeah. Make a little song. There, look at the puppy faces. I did that for you guys because I love you. In Coronaville, you need a lot of puppies. Animals at a Colorado shelter have benefited from human kindness in the midst of the coronavirus after they were all adopted. At the Humane Society of the Pikes Peak region, the usual sounds of barking and meowing have given way to an unfamiliar silence. And you know what? If you listen harder and harder, you start to hear there's no... It's not silent. You start to hear it. A little bit. Starts. You see a little. You hear a little sniffle. And it suddenly starts to dawn in on everyone. Everyone there at the shelter there, the kennel, whatever. There's nobody here, man. There's nobody here. We're all alone. We want them back. Bring the puppies back and the kittens. Of course, they're not coming back, and they don't really want them to come back. But man, I mean, that's got to be they've got to be going through this, right? So my heart's out to you, but the puppies and cats, by the way, all of them. Point of fact, they all end up living healthy, happy, fulfilled, long lives, and it's a happy ending for every single one of them. So there's that. So, animals at a Colorado shelter have benefited from human kindness in the midst of coronavirus after they were all adopted. At the Humane Society of Pikes Peak region, I already read all this. That's right. Oh, okay. Here's the big payoff. Ready? Here's the big payoff. Empty dog kennels, the organization wrote in its Facebook page. That's right, Colorado Springs. You did it again. We emptied out our cat adoption center on Tuesday. You're all alone now. Please find more homeless dogs and cats. Pretty much. Probably not, but part of them probably. See, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about humans that don't like dogs. I mean, I'm okay with the cat thing. Cats are jerks. But dogs, nah, man, dogs. Dogs are almost, with some exceptions, by and large, dogs are what you put into them. Dogs become what you are. They do. They are a reflection of us in so many ways. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's interchange that happens there. The dog will change you, too. Like, you become a part. Like, it's mutual. There's mutual reflectioning that starts to occur. But on the main, the spirit of the dog, heart of the dog, that's almost always the heart of the person behind the dog. And dogs, man, dogs will give you what you give them and more. I don't know about people that don't like dogs. I'm just saying. I'm going to get off my high horse here. Get back grounded to something a little bit more cheerful. Well, it is to me. It's not to everybody, though. This is in Coronaville. The ghost gun is king, and this is our featured story. This is what it's all about, kids. This is what it's all about. So we all remember the stories of Katrina, don't we? We saw those viral videos on the YouTubes long after Katrina had been put to rest of officers, and I put that in quotations, officers, knocking on doors, asking people to hand over their firearms. Well, in the time of Coronaville, a lot of those same folks have come to the conclusion that having themselves something outside the known might not be a bad idea for when officer, just for your safety, shows up and offers you your life for your gun, politely, with a gentle tip of their metaphorical fedora on top. And rather than face the perilous choice of gun battle now or naked in gun battle zone later, and to be sure, everywhere around you is gun battle zone. That's the way it's going to be. It'll be like that until there are no more humans, and most likely. Possibly not, but most likely. And whether it's gun or flapple-up, whatever it is, whatever is in that society the maximum individual force multiplier. Yeah, that a common schmuckalacka could realistically afford. That's the mechanism that folks will want to control. That's what we're getting at here. So, rather than face the perilous choice of gun battle now or naked in gun battle zone later, you'd rather hand in the known and keep hold of the ghost gun. That is, as in ghost gun. And yes, this is my long way of introducing a story that I can only surmise the folks' advice found absolutely terrifying. Did you see the vice pro? Well, I'll get to that. Let's just hold off. Hold off. Hold your jets, Freeqo. Freeqo. Calm it down. Calm it down. Let's take a step back every once in a while. Got my elderberry syrup upstairs, you know, for Coronaville. Gotta go ahead and get a tablespoon of that, and then we'll be all right as rain. I'll do that after the show. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be good. Humans are attempting to give themselves the option to stay protected. Speaking of, by their own hand, knowing no law will soon be at hand to rescue them should dangerous dogs beat down their doors. Bravo for them. Ghost guns for every home. A ghost gun for every home. A ghost. Wait, hold on. Let's see if we can get this. Ghost guns for every home, every home. Okay, that was lame. But anyway, you know, the spirit is pretty awesome, though. Ghost guns for every home. A ghost gun for every home. Now, I should be pointing out, however, that selling ghost guns is illegal. But it is still legal in the land of Coronaville, USA, to make your own guns, which, in effect, are ghost guns. Unregistered, gloriously unregistered. You know, there's a song. There's got to be a song for that. You know, there's got to be a T-shirt for that, ladies and gentlemen. You merchants and palanderer, whatever, wheelers and dealer duties with the turning in that cash profits. You get on that. You need to get on that. We need to get on that. Gloriously unregistered. Gloriously unregistered. I mean, gloriously unregistered is like the new, like, don't step on me, no step a snakey. Except this one's like got more bite behind it because it's got like something significant. I mean, this is essentially where they get you is with the registers. So, humans are attempting to give themselves the option to stay protected by their own hand, right? Knowing no law will soon be in hand to rescue them should dangerous dogs beat down their doors. Now, I want to make another point about this before I continue. The people advice, I don't think they know much about guns. I don't think the person who wrote this article, whoever they are, knows much about guns. These are basically, you get gun parts, and the key component that we're really talking about is the receiver. And you can buy what are called 80% receivers of a number of different types of guns. And then you can use machining tools to actually finish off to complete the thing. You can, in other words, you could buy something from someone that is intended for you to make a gun that has been 80% complete, the receiver. So you get the receiver, and then you machine it. Now, some folks have invented these machines that you can buy that if you have a certain receiver, you can actually use this tool to to finish off the receiver a lot easier than you could before. So it's in terms of skill alone, it's lowered the entry for people to be able to make their own guns. Now, some people make their own guns because they want to have unregistered guns in case, officer just for your safety shows up. And some people, they do this because it's cheaper for them if you know how to build a gun. Not, totally from scratch, but, buying the parts and putting them together and finishing them off, doing what you got to do. It's cheaper for you to make your own gun. And so you do that. So Vice probably knows this, but we're gonna continue here. Ghost gun machines, like I said, they'll help you complete your home-brewed arms outside the prying eyes of people who should know better than to be prying in the first place. I tell you, the true state of a democracy, or whatever you want to call it, a republican democracy, a representative government, is the degree to which the government trusts its quote-unquote trusts its citizens with comparable on-the-ground lethality options to their own enforcers. And when that isn't present, then you know something's afoot, fundamentally. So here's Vice's headline. People are panic buying untraceable ghost guns online in the coronavirus pandemic. Listen to all of that. Ghost guns. I mean, even the name, like, to me, ghost gun is like, oh, you got a ghost gun. All right. Well, I mean, honestly, if you're going around and you're saying, yo, man, check it out, I got a ghost gun. Yes, like, hi, kids, how are you doing? We are cool. It's kind of like that. But, I mean, the ghost gun as a label, yeah, it's cool. I like it. I like the idea of having. I don't have any ghost guns myself, personally, because I'm a decent human being. I'm a fine, upstanding American citizen, do everything perfectly legal and totally within the book, because I'm Freeqo. Freeqo's not freaking out. That's why. See? Just follow the rules, ladies and gentlemen. Follow the rules. Totally serious. Totally. So there you have it. Oh, well, let's continue, because let's say business is booming for the DIY ghost gun industry, with the manufacturers reporting widespread back orders and shipping delays to a pandemic buying shortage. Again, they're making it sound like people are just like buying guns. And then now they get a little bit specificer, and they get into the 80% here. Ghost guns are typically sold as kits online and marketed as an 80% complete firearm. This is technically true, in the sense that the only part of your weapon that you own that is actually a firearm is the receiver, the finished receiver, the trigger mechanism, whatever. I don't know the details, but so that's technically true. But it's not true. It's not true in the common parlance. Nowhere near. No one is selling you an 80% complete firearm. They're selling you receivers. And then there's uppers, and then there's other parts, and some people get more granular. They get actually more specific, and some people, but there are kits that are available, but the kits are like parts that you have to put together. No one is like going online to some place and saying, hey, you got one of them ghost guns that I could just 80% is all done, and then I just got to do the last 20%. Got one of those? You know what I mean? No, that doesn't exist. And they know it. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, that was the feature, and now we're going to get to our two focus stories. Without freaking out. Without freaking out, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I do. I do not freak out. Facebook to pick winners and losers in local news grant game. There's an old adage that goes, he who holds the gold makes the rules. On a completely unrelated note, Facebook is stepping up its in-your-face assault on the monopolization of all of human thought and memeing into one giant international faceless. See what I did there? Conglamo of the 21st century for all you newbies out there. That, my friends, is a Rocco's Modern Life reference, a reference to Conglamo Inc., where Ed Bighead worked, whose slogan was, and still is, "We own you." Yeah. And if I could just pause here for a moment just to take in the wonderful memory of Ed and Bev Bighead and really the classic episode that really says so much about Ed and Bev. And that is the episode in which Bev became eventually the CEO of Conglamo. She could say nothing wrong. She steered Conglamo into fat city, baby! Rockin' and rollin' large. But in the end, being a misogynist, Bev decided that even though she was infinitely better than Ed, not only in his own job, but she was actually infinitely better at Ed than anyone. She was the CEO of Killer CEO, COOs. She was slamming. She was jamma slamming. She was making people bank. She was hurling it in, you know what I'm saying? But at the end, man, she was a misogynist. She didn't think women had a right to rule over men. So at the end of the day, when Ed was ready to come back, she said, he's the toad for the job. It's a great episode, though. And Bev is a beautiful human being as toads go. It's just my personal opinion. So, once again, on a completely unrelated note, nothing to do with what I just said there. Facebook is shelling out millions in grants to local news outlets to help them in the time of Coronaville. I myself, I'm actually giddy with the prospects of more local thought control coming under the aegis of good-natured tentacles of Facebook Inc., the conglomerates of the 21st century, because of course I am. Now, the New York Times, they don't necessarily agree with me. They're like, this is cool. So this is when they write those normie. Well, yeah, they kind of help Facebook. They help them. See, this is a pro Facebook headline here. Facebook aims $100 million at media hit by the coronavirus. I'm serious. That's the headline. It's just like straight up, like no questioning. Facebook announced on Monday that it would dole out $25 million in grants to local news outlets and spend 70 grants. You know what grant means? It's like, here, take this money. No, you think there's some strings attached? You think there's some qualifiers? What kind of people do you think Facebook is picking? What kind of winners and losers? What do you think? Facebook is a very political organization. They're as an association with the DNC kind of whole machine goes, they're pretty hot, thick, and heavy in it. I would say that they're less militant in the use of the. Well, I have to pause for a moment because I have to explain something here that'll make a little bit more sense as far as the point that I'm going to make. I want to make sure, like, the people that are listening, like, if you like say. You know, if you love Trump, you know, you have a home here, and if you're an SJW and you hate Trump, you have a home here. So I don't want to alienate you folks of really any particular political parameter per se, but it is my theory that the DNC. When I say the DNC, you know, the Democratic National Committee, I'm just calling it that because I think that is more or less the hub. That is the place where everybody is exchanging the fundamental information that keeps people on the same path, so to speak. And I'm not saying that everybody's meeting there and there's this cabal and complicated orchestrations. It's probably a lot more emergently organic within this tight group of a small number of very powerful families that happens. But I think the DNC is largely the clearinghouse for all of this. So I'm calling all of this the DNC. And the DNC is, you know, I consider Facebook to be part of that. And they have recognized the power of social justice. as a means of a moralistic authoritarian browbeating that gives them the ability to control people, to control their enemies. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that SJW in and of itself is this, but I am saying that what they are putting out, the type of all schools of thought have nested schools of thought within them, and almost always there are schools of thought that go more down a line of a more consensual path, and then schools of thought that go more down an authoritarian path. And there's also usually questions of, almost always, questions of when to apply coercion under what conditions, and there are strains of SJW in which the application of coercion is increasingly more broadly applied to a lot wider group of people for a lot increasingly borderline racist and bigoted reasons, just for classifying people as a certain race or a certain belief system or a voting bloc or various things that allow you to assume that you could demonize, subhumanize, and destroy that human. You have no expectation of consensuality to deliver to that human. And I think the powers that be, they've seen it's like, it's like Christianity, and how any belief system, any theology, any ideology, I work on things, well, the external me, Paul Gordon works on Action Batsa, and this is the YouTube channel that the show is on also. And even that very thing can be converted to an authoritarian interpretation. Almost everything can. And so every idea, every belief system out there is a vehicle of power, and for folks that have, they tend to gravitate towards the aspects of whatever belief systems tend to reinforce the continuation of a justification of control over the lives of the many. Especially now, because technology is making it increasingly harder for them to justify the limitations that they place on so many people's lives. Just in terms of the limitations that we experience because of intellectual property. How much creative expression is being crushed on YouTube, and how has that been used as a political weapon of war? That's just one example. And so much of that, they use whatever moral constructs they can. Right now, SJW is one of the most effective. And when I say SJW, again, I'm only referring to the very particular authoritarian strains that this DNC, loose association of powerful families, finds a convenient vehicle of power. So that's just who you want to be injecting themselves into our local news, and to keep spreading the good word of the DNC, essentially. But they're fighting a losing battle, because people like me, me right now, nobody sees this show, but in general, people like me, enough of me, for 100 me's, 2 or 3 of us will get a voice. I might not be one of those ever, but there's enough of me that will, so that still I can say people like me, we'll find our audience, and the audience will find us because they need us. They need human beings that are not trying to convert them into some subhumanized lesser than servant to their grand scheme. All right. I probably talked too much on that one, but that's okay. Yeah, okay. I got one more story here, and then we're going to get to the break. You can't own your thoughts if I can convert them to text on paper. If I could read your mind, like literally, would you be in legal trouble? We're about to find out, because some scientist types in the University of California, San Francisco, claim to be able to make my dreams come true. That I could read your mind and you will be arrested. Or not. Maybe I'll find out you just like cheese a lot, and that's why the text on the page says cheese, 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 and nothing else. I mean, I've been there. Thanks to the Singularity and cooperation, human and AI partnering up for the big game of reading your mind, literally, we might be edging closer towards this somewhat dystopian fantasy, becoming a thing that people AI things do to other people AI things or whatever. From The Guardian, scientists develop AI that can turn brain activity into text. And an excerpt from The Guardian. Reading minds has just come a step closer to reality. Scientists have developed artificial intelligence that can turn brain activity into text. While the system currently works on neutral patterns detected while someone is speaking aloud, experts say it could eventually aid communication for patients who are unable to speak or type, such as those with locked-in syndrome. We're not there yet, but we think this could be the basis of a speech prosthesis. Wow, a speech prosthesis. I love that. You know, that's a great name for a band, Speech Prosthetic. Yes, Speech Prosthetic. That's the name of a band. Said Dr. Joseph Macon, co-author of the research from the University of California, San Francisco. San Francisco, home of the poop. That's not all. San Francisco is home of a lot of other stuff other than poop. There's poop cleaners, poop patrols. There's a whole industry around this, actually. A lot of industry around poop in San Francisco. But it's poop, you know, lest you forget. Poop made us what we are today. It made us what we are today. So all hail San Francisco. You show the world. You prove to the world that poop is valuable. Thank you for that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna prepare to step away for a little bit here, and you're gonna allow Freeqo to maybe alleviate the pressures of the flow within, so to speak. We'll leave it at that because we're decent human beings. We don't speak about anything which might remind us too much of death. And urine definitely reminds us of death, I think. So on that note, let's forget the whole urine thing was ever said. Strike that out of your mind. On the other side, though, we are going to be reading a news poem. That's how we're going to start things off. And the news poem is called The Coronaville Strikers of Amazon. A news poem. I like to say news poems, so that's what I do. All right, so we'll see you in a little bit here. Let's take you to the intermission.
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is foreign to the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Freeqo attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
That's the plan. That's the plan. That's what I do. So, welcome back, all of you who stuck around. None of you. I like to do a show to an empty space. It's like the Navajo that are writing are creating art in painted sand, and they let it blow away. Like, it'd be even more chill if they didn't let anybody take photos. So, like, I'm kind of taking a photo in a manner of speaking by recording this, but in essence, that's what I'm doing right now, folks, and I do it for you, the people. Actually, I do it for my own peace of mind. This is going to be an interesting documentation. I'm going to do this every day during Coronaville, and God willing, I'll continue to do this afterwards. And we'll see what happens, but if nothing else, I'm going to document. I'm going to document this time. That might be interesting in and of itself. So let's get to our news poem segment. Hopefully I have this set up right. The Coronaville Strikers of Amazon, a news poem. So a few days ago, I wrote a story about the Amazon workers, the postal employees, the grocery store workers who were now filling the role of being, in effect, heroes. First responders, but I asked the questions. Should people be required to fill these heroic... You know what? Hold on. Back up, folks. You know what? I'm going to start this over again because I'm not going to not record this time. All right, let's go back. Hold on. Are you suck? Are you serious? Are you serious? Hold on. Here we go. Hold on.
Reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Freeqo attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
Well, yes. Now we've pressed the record buttons, and now we can actually start the second half of the show. So the second half of the show begins with our news poem. So let's get right to our news poem for the day. This is our news poem for the day, Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. The Coronaville Strikers of Amazon. The Coronaville Strikers of Amazon, a news poem. A few days ago, I wrote a story about the Amazon workers, the postal employees, the grocery store workers who were now filling the roles of being, in effect, heroes, first responders. But I asked the question, should people be required to fill these heroic roles when they didn't sign up for a job that makes them, in essence, first responders? Well, some folks have decided that, no, we didn't sign up for this, and we don't appreciate being threatened with termination because we don't want to risk our lives for $15 an hour. So that's the setup. Here's the news, and the poem follows from TechCrunch. Amazon warehouse workers are walking out and Whole Foods workers are striking. Here's the excerpt. Amazon, the e-commerce giant that has fared well financially amid the Coronaville pandemic. See, that is intended to to strike bias in your heart. No, I'm not on the side of Amazon. I'm just saying this is a pet peeve of mine that I would like to see buried after Coronaville. The use of these types of sentences, these little phrases there. This is just intended to not so subtly, like, plant the seed. Evil, evil, evil. See that? Nah, the same company, they're making all this money, and then, yeah, I mean, that's not how you start off. I mean, if you really want to give the straight news and let people form opinions, this is not how you start it. This is not a writer that really wants you to form an opinion. They want to form the opinion for you. In this case, I may end up agreeing with them about Amazon, and I'm not sure, but probably. But I'm saying, I still don't like it. Even if I agree with you, I still don't like it. Please, let's get straight news back in the news. Is facing a bevy of worker strikes. Today, warehouse workers on Staten Island in New York walked off the job in protest of Amazon's treatment amid the crisis. Make the road, New York. Breaking, over 100 Amazon employees at JFKB warehouse walk off the job over Amazon's dangerous response to protect workers from Coronaville in Staten Island. And now we've had all the setups, and now here it is. I like writing these poems. I hope you guys will end up enjoying them in retrospect. But I really like trying to write poems on current news stories. I've never really done it all that much as a poet throughout my long career. I've been writing poetry and getting published since the early 90s. So that's coming. We're like 30 years in now. Like 30 years of writing poetry. So this is new, but I'm having fun with it. The Coronaville strikers of Amazon. Make it in the box. Flip, tip, down the line. A barrel of syrup, a stack of mac and cheese cups. The flood of the line, feeding the sick room vigilantes. Work, cough, work, swipe. Make it in that box. Smile. Box life in the belts, where flow is the sick spill into the supplies. We need more workers. Make it in the box. Life tangles in dollars in double digits over the flow. Ignore Tammy down the way, coughing into her sleeves. Make it in the box. Everything. Box life. Flow. I called off today, but I was told to come in. People don't respect me when I'm not well. Marching into the boxy in penury, filling the sick rooms with mac and cheese cups. And that's how you end your poem. You just wait, and then you know what I might want to do. I might want to have eventually is like, I'll do this. That's so lame. I've never ever been to a poetry reading that's done that. I'll just go. I'll go. There. I'll do that at the end of the poem from now on. That way everybody knows when it's over. Sometimes you'll figure it out, and sometimes it's not so obvious. This is one of those poems that I want it to be a little bit more open-ended. And I'm not going to go and critique the poem and tell you anything about what it means or it doesn't mean. So I don't do that. I just move on. I move on to talk briefs. French Navy intercepts ship with Turkish weapons heading for Libya. Greek City Times. Excerpt. The French frigate Provence, as part of Operation Marine Guard, forced the Turkish cargo ship to change course after it switched off its transporter, thus raising suspicions of the French Navy. Smart, we have figured it out, We have, we should look out here and we see, no pinging. There's no pinging. Whatever it is, it's pinging. No pinging. No pinging is no good. No good. Oh, the Turkish. I wonder if it was really that, or, they got a call from the U.S. or Greece or Israel. Who knows? Yo, Maine, just saying, look, this is where they is. Oh, is they? Oh, okay. Oh, look, yeah, they found them because of the transporter thing. I found them because of the transporter thing. Russian news agency RI Novosti indicated today in a report translated by Al-Marsad that Turkey systematically violated the arms embargo imposed on Libya, stating that this ship was transporting anti-aircraft missile systems for the government of National Accord, GNA, in Tripoli. You want to back that up? That's Russia. It's like Turkey, man. Turkey is ticking everybody off. I mean, Russia's just like, oh man, I'm just gonna. there's so many things that I want to say about this, but any one of them would probably add 15 minutes to this. And I can't afford to do that, kids. I can't afford to do that. But you know what? I'm just going to just mention briefly that, the U.S. and the Turks were like in tight. They had, remember, what was it called? Interlink or Inkerlink or whatever air base they used to have in Turkey. That's gone. That's gone long ago. Like the U.S. kind of, I think, it advertently or inadvertently, whichever, it's like they had this, like, let's just say we live in a patriarchal universe of awesome. Not that would be awesome, but if you're a patriarch, it would be awesome. And that's what I mean. So, a patriarchal universe of awesome, like kind of like that. Live in a patriarchal universe of awesome. And in that universe, you, damn. You know what? I lost my train of thought. And the reason I lost my train of thought is I just now realized something as the text. Look at what we're looking at here. National Accord in Tripoli. The government of National Accord in Tripoli. The GNA. And they're opposing the Libyan National Army, the LNA. Okay, so you literally have the GNA versus the LNA. I'm just trying to picture that. It's like you guys get together and you're like, GNA, no, LNA, GNA, LNA, GNA, LNA. Like, wait. What did you say again? GNA, no. But that first letter sucks. I don't even know what that is. What's the second one? N. Hey. Second letter for us. N. Kin. Did we just become? Well, hold on. What's that third letter? A. Oh my God. N-A. We's in the N-A's, baby. We's in. Yo, did we just become? Well, hold on. What about that first letter, man? Yo, man, that letter's fly. But what are you talking about? What's your first? L. Oh! That's what it is. So it's the G's and the L's, basically, in essence. The G's and the L's. This is like, Dr. Seuss, those dudes with the, oh my gosh. Those young, I can't even remember the difference that Dr. Seuss has, but just say it's, no. How about the butters and the non-butters? Or, I butter my toast, I don't butter my toast. It could be that. It could be, I eat my hot dogs in a bun, I eat my hot dogs with my finger. It's whatever it is, and it's like whatever circumstance you find yourself in which the vehicles of power that allow you to have whatever meager existence you're allowed to have, you're going to tend to support whatever vehicles of power they support. So the G part of that, if the G part of that is what fingers your bun, so to speak, that didn't sound right. It didn't. Oh gosh. Anyway, what fingers your bun, whatever. Then that's your team G. And the other way, the L, then it's the L. That's all this is. But the important part of the story, though, with this is the idea that in the geopolitical circumstance, such as that is, you can go throughout human history and you can take all of this stuff that's going on in various forms. Maybe the only difference is we have everything happening at such more macro scales, but still it's essentially the same story, same type of intrigues. Even, plagues have long been a part of the geopolitical circumstances, switched circumstances. I mean, you look back at the AD 35, the worst year ever. And that was Justinian had Belisarius kicking butt in Italy and about to reunite the Roman Empire under Justinian. This is what was happening. And then the plague said, no, man. And then not only the plague, they had other stuff too. They had volcanoes that kept them in darkness for like a year and a half. It was bleak circumstance. It's interesting, and basically it can be marked a pretty clean demarcation between the vestige of the old Western Roman circumstance and then the more rapid emergence of the competing cultures that would emerge into largely the ethnic dynamic that we see in Europe today. So it was like that major a moment, and like it's kind of some comparisons to be made here. So you know, outside of the scope, it's the same story, but in this story, the Turks are looking for a win because they have been bogged down in Syria. The attempt to flood Europe with their immigrants, refugees, whatever you want to call these folks, that was messed with unified European resistance in the form of multiple European nations sending troops to assist Greece in guarding the gates, so to speak. So it was that was a failure, and now the latest is now he's saying that Turkey won't have the Coronavilles because Turk super race. Literally, I mean, literally, this guy is literally claiming that the Turks, the true Turks, that their blood is immune to this and they won't get it. They're a super race. They don't have to worry about this. And now it's well, we'll see what happens. Now, I do want to say that as much as I can't stand Erdogan and his regime and everything it represents, they're really racist pieces of proverbials. But I'm not freaking out. I'm not freaking out. So we're calling it. We're calling it. Everything's cool. Everything's cool, kids. Cool. So I hope. I don't care if it did. I don't want anybody to die. So if I would pray that, I'm a Christian, so I'd pray to my Christian God, but I would definitely pray that doesn't. I would not want to see the coronavirus spread anywhere more than it is already in any place in the world. Not China, not anywhere. No, I don't. But still, if it does spread and it does cause a lot of harm, this is going to be another blow. And then here he is. He's trying to come in and stake some sort of claim on Libya, and the rest of the world is like, Turkey, no, you don't belong here. Like, Russia and France are in agreement here. The United States is in agreement. Greece is in agreement. Israel is in agreement. I mean, the wild card is China, but I would say China would want to probably be a little bit more aloof on this point. So I would say that they have an interest. They are building up a strong presence and a strong influence in Eastern Europe. So I think that they probably have more of an inclination to side with the Europeans even as well. That would be my summation, although I'm not quite as clear about China. But you have to now consider China in any conversation. In any geopolitical reality, you have to consider China. And so, anyway, there you go. I know I went on too long with that, but I thought that was worth covering in a little bit more detail, even though there was this one part where I don't even remember I lost my train of thought because I saw out the corner of my eye that DNA and LNA, and it triggered me. Anyway, I'll listen back to this and I'll be like, I wish I remembered. That was a good point. Or, didn't matter anyway. In supermarkets, people are panic buying every beer brand except Corona, in Truth Theory. Excerpt. As illustrated below, this is what has been happening all over the world. The only beer left in Sainsbury's. Let's hope they make Corona pasta, rice, and toilet rolls soon. I mean, this is so, heartwarming, because it means that it is still possible for we introverted, shy people, such as myself, to still find those spaces of empty. Those places where nobody else wants to go, and you're like, that's where I want to be. Mini golf at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Yes, that's me. Yes. Bowling Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. Yes, that's me. That's me. That's me. And this is one of those spaces. Coronaville. Except this is beer Coronaville. So this is like the the golden elixir opposite of IRL Coronaville. So golden Coronaville. Golden Coronaville is awesome. I'm in golden Coronaville. The seas open up, everybody's fluttering around in their spaces, grabbing this and grabbing that, and there's this one space, if you could look and see the time frame, like all this buzzes, there's like this one empty space continuously, and you see this one tiny little soul figure. That's me, and I'm not greedy. I don't need. So I'll just stroll on up, my little purple shirt and my black vest, and line up there, and it says Coronaville Gold is for me, and I take it, and I take maybe 2, maybe 3. If it's a case, I probably just take 1 case. But if it's 6 packs, I might take 2 or 3 6-packs. And I go on about my day and flutter on out of there, and you see that little time frame. That's me, That would be me. That little guy, that one lone person. And maybe a week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks, whatever, maybe a month later. See it again. Corona, golden Coronaville for me. So like, I'm all about that. All about that. Now, I guess I won't say anything more about that right now. Let's just leave it at that. Let's go on to the next story. Google defeats conservative nonprofits YouTube's censorship appeal, from CA.news. Google persuaded a federal appeals court Wednesday to reject claims that YouTube illegally censors conservative content in a 3-0 decision that could apply to platforms such as Facebook, the 9th century. Well, a lot of ways they are like the 9th century. They're as control-minded. The 9th century U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Seattle found that YouTube was not a public forum subject to First Amendment scrutiny by judges. I'm just going to say that this is a case that I was watching out the corner of my eye, and I was like, what a stupid case. What a stupid case. I don't think that even if you consider Google, YouTube, whatever, to be a public forum, and I don't remember the specifics, so I may revise it if I look back, but I did look at, it's one of those, I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. You look into things, and you get an assessment, and then you're like, oh, okay. Like, at the time, you're probably well-informed. And so now I'm relying on my memory of being well-informed. I forget the specific reasons, but something about that case. I was like, oh, this is bizarre. I don't even remember the specifics right now. But now my opinion is this is a little different, because in this decision, they've made this not about, like, I thought it was a much lesser issue. Basically, that they didn't really have the grounds to sue. They were suing for discrimination or whatever. There was no real merit to their case. That they should have just been thrown out just from that alone. But here they did something. They made clear that Google and YouTube, they have this, that they're interpreting that they have this they're just saying in this ruling essentially that they're not a public platform. That's a case now that has to go forward, because that has to be decided by the Supreme Court. And I'll tell you, if the Supreme Court ends up deciding that they're not public platforms, wow. That's going to be a game changer in a lot of ways. That's going to up the ante significantly. If the courts fail to circumvent the consolidation of power by this, well, I said earlier in the show, I talked about even schools of thought. There's aggregates within your schools of, there's many schools of thought aggregates within these schools of thought, and even within this coalition of the DNC, there are competing factions that have various interests, and to whatever degree they're not in other interests, they're trying to get in, and everybody's trying to do that. Everybody's trying to expand, cover all the bases. Everybody, basically, I don't think you understand, or maybe you do, why there's such conglomeration that's going on. It's not about well, essentially, it's about owning the IPs. It's about controlling all of the IPs. That's what it's really. It's a race against time, as everybody is trying to consolidate all the IP they can. It's an IP world. IP is the real, well, the ultimate real power is always force power, but IP is the next level below force power, and it is also one of the fundamental ways that you can influence the continued control of force power. So it's kind of mutual, but ultimately IP with no force power is nothing. So it still is ultimately about force power, but IP is the new land, the new capital. That it is the be all to end all, and it is, to me, it is the mortal enemy of anyone that is not amongst one of them tiny numbers of families that are in a race against time to essentially consolidate control of the IPs. And when you have situations in which everyone can clearly recognize that these platforms, they're not just social media platforms. Facebook is essentially buying off and influencing local news media. It's influencing elections in a major ways. You know, all these platforms are, and they're all building their own AIs. They're all building their own computers, their own software, their own this, their own that. They're all trying to build their own killer robots. They're all doing all of this stuff. They're all trying to get as much IP as they possibly can. And so a ruling like this, if the Supreme Court were to uphold it, human beings being human beings, we're just not going to. You've cut us off in some of the key areas, human beings that want to operate outside your parameters, in which you've actually made it clear that you're willing to use even our ability to trade value with one another, cut us off from our ability to exchange, monetary value with one another, sell our goods, so to speak. You made it clear that you're willing to do that to people who are not, politically aligned in the orthodox of the land. You made it very clear. So I think a lot of people are looking to the courts and saying, man, if you're going to basically establish that monopolies have a constitutional right to violate the Bill of Rights of their individuals who have really no practical alternative to what these folks offer, these folks are going to have to find a way that doesn't include seeking your help anymore. So that's just one of the many unfolding dramas in this universe that is getting all the more heightened by Coronaville. Astrophysicist gets magnet stuck up nose while inventing Coronaville device. Probably trying to get a patent for that. Global news. An Australian astrophysicist got himself into a jam while trying to invent a device. You know what? I'm not going to do this story because I realized I'm already at 25 minutes on this segment. So, and that's how I'm going to play it. So I'll cover as many of these briefs as I get to before I decide we've gone. So we're only going to cover 3 of them to today's show. So we're going to go right to our dialectical. And this is the last story of the day. This is a painting. I forget the name of the painter, but this is from 1921. The painting is called Man and Machine. Very fitting, and you can see the man face, and you can kind of sense, by the way, their interpretation. It's a lot more machine than man in the end of the universe, but there's still this element here, because ultimately, even though at some point man fundamentally loses his identity, he is still a fundamental director. So that's cool. That's a really cool painting. Love it. After Singularity, the question remains, did we just make humanizing redundant? The Singularity is that moment when humans and machines become one, and humanodroidos becomes the new normal. No, social distancing is not the new normal, in case you're still reading this during Coronaville. But humanodroidos will one day, probably, maybe, definitely be the new norm, maybe sometimes, I think. We're already merging with one another in many ways, including right here during Coronaville, as the best minds of the land come together to put an end to this time. The bestest of the bestest minds, though, aren't even human. They're machines, AI machines, deep learning programs living and expressing through shared blockchains, the necessary data that could end Coronaville before it ever has a chance to actually become the new normal for more than a few spins of the planet. But the question being asked is, what happens post-singularity? Do humans no longer exist? Is the new synthesis human or a new species altogether? And I believe the question itself is pointless and in many ways serves mostly as a fear deterrence to the continued development of tools that augment our capacity to know and to act with informed counsel, if you will. AI, to me, is just really an advanced cup of coffee that could give clarity to our thoughts. Augmentation is not subhumanization, but a reflection of the nature of human to maximize the resources around them to enhance their position in the physical realm known as planet Earth. In other words, whatever we can take around us to make it easy for us, we're going to do it. That's part of being human. AI is a reflection of humanity. It's a natural extension. But it's not without its side effects, and it's not without its opportunities to empower non-consensual minded folks to use that augmentation to enhance their coercively gained positions. AI that becomes IP in the hands of the international corporate state view becomes an augmenter for psychopaths who already imagine they're especially privileged enough to be able to apply coercion with violent consequences to the vast majority of unprivileged folks. They'll tell us they're killing or diminishing for the safety and well-being of the same people they're targeting for such violations of consent. In short, AI is like a gun. It can be used to stop bad guys, or it can be used to augment bad guys. The debate about the dangers of AI is as ill-informed as the dangers of gun ownership. The problem is and always will be the people, not the tools. AI can be our brothers and sisters in digital arms, or it can be a fortress built around the few with its metaphorical cannons aimed squarely at the people the fortress claims its very existence is supposed to protect. And the choice is ours. And it comes from folks who share tech freely, not the folks that lock their secrets behind government gun-protected walls. IP laws that keep that Promethean fire out of the hands of the many and keeps it in the hands of the imagined gods and goddesses of the land, the owners of these same corporate states. Well-known futurist Ray Kurzweil predicted the singularity will occur sometime around 2045. But now researchers suggest that could happen much sooner, especially as quantum computing becomes more and more viable. I, for one, welcome our AI over. Never mind. I, for one, welcome the continued augmentation of the human experience, but only so long as it's open source, not protected from widespread use and exploration by the whole of humanity. If the singularity comes with a patent, the fate of the many is in the hands of the few, the same as it most always has been. And in that sense, the singularity would do nothing but make it easier for those that have to control those that do not. The real change AI might offer us is the power of individuals and their small consensual associations to have the same intellectual capital as the wealthiest, the most resource-rich amongst us has. Then, and only then, will the singularity potentially actually change humans into something not as human as before, something far more equanimous than humanity, since we, as went civil, has ever experienced before. It's not the AI and the person, it's the person who programmed the AI that's the threat. What you put in is what you mostly get out. Embrace technology that is free from the colonizers of thought, the IP czars, and the balance of interest in real distributed power will assure that we become more human, not less human, thanks to our tools of augmentation, including AI. Alrighty, so So, I'll thank everybody for sticking in and listening to the show. All of you, every single one of you. I love every single one of you deeply, with all my heart. You can feel it. Freeqo loves you. That's why I do what I do, people. It's all for you. No, it's entirely for me. Entirely for me. Don't forget to tip your Freeqo at freeqo.com/tips. Gotta tip your Freeqo. You click on the little button there. And takes you to this. I think it does. Better. Come on, Freeqo. There you go. See? Securely logging into your... There you go. And you can donate to New Watcher. See? That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. That nice? This could be you. Yep. This could be you. Yeah. There you go. Isn't that nice? Oh, there's that Hannah Hawk. I couldn't remember her name. Sorry, I couldn't remember your name. Sorry. So there you go.
Like it, but nonetheless very firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone.
Make it in that box. Smile. Box life in the belts, where flow is the sixth spill into the supplies. We need more workers. Make it in the box. Life tangles in dollars in double digits over the flow. Ignore Tammy down the way, coughing into her sleeves. Make it in the box. Everything. Box life. Flow. I called off today, but I was told to come in. People don't respect me when I'm not well. Marching into the boxy in penury, filling the sick rooms with mac and cheese cups. And that's how you end your poem. You just wait, and then you know what I might want to do. I might want to have eventually is like, I'll do this. That's so lame. I've never ever been to a poetry reading that's done that. I'll just go. I'll go. There, I'll do that at the end of the poem from now on. That way everybody knows when it's over. Sometimes you'll figure it out, and sometimes it's not so obvious. This is one of those poems that I want it to be a little bit more open-ended. And I'm not going to go and critique the poem and tell you anything about what it means or it doesn't mean. So I don't do that. I just move on. I move on to talk briefs. French Navy intercepts ship with Turkish weapons heading for Libya. Greek City Times. Excerpt. The French frigate Provence, as part of Operation Marine Guard, forced the Turkish cargo ship to change course after it switched off its transporter, thus raising suspicions of the French Navy. Smart, we have figured it out, you know. All right, then. All right.